Hello everyone, Michelle here from the Creative Cove. Thanks for joining me today. So today I thought we would do some quick sketches with roses. Now I have a video already how to draw a rose with a little bit more detail. I still call them quickie sketches because it's about capturing the form in a quick way so that you're not overthinking things. And then once you get the grasp of the looseness of things, then you can slow down and take your time grabbing more details. I like to kind of simplify roses in a lot of ways because they can be extremely difficult to draw. Looking at a traditional rose, so to speak, like a tea rose here, you can see all the layers of ruffles and all the different angles that they're growing in. So it can be challenging to draw. We're going to start with some simplified roses. I call them simplified, that they've got 5 petals. They're pretty flat, and you can add some interest by making the petals rotate and turn in different directions. So I want to start with something like this. This is a mess here. Let me clean this up. I've been practicing. I've been sketching for years, and you still practice. So I want to start by simplifying a form here. So what you can do, this is just on tracing paper, but when you're looking at a flower, and once you've got this concept and able to do this, you can basically apply it to any flower. So when you're drawing flowers or composition of flowers, you never want them just one direction. You want them moving in different directions. Sometimes you want to draw the back of them, the side of them, a full face on. So this little trick is quite handy. So if you were to draw a circle, and in the middle of that circle, you draw the center of the flower, and then you're basically drawing the petals. And now you've got a top-down view of a flower, right? You've drawn a circle. Let's say you want to change the perspective of that flower and you want to see more of a side view. So you can draw a circle, and then you're going to establish what perspective you have by where you put the center. So if I put the center of the flower right in the middle of that oval, I'm now telling you I see this part of the petal coming towards me. And then the ones in the back are shortened because they're further away. So there's my flower. You can do it again and change the center to down here. So now this leaf, this petal is coming towards me. It's curving up. Here's the center, and these ones are curving up. Does that make sense? Do you see how you can change your perspective of that flower? And maybe curve this one as well. And these are just the quickie rough sketches, just to kind of give you an idea of how you can change it. And then you can oval it again, even a slighter angle, let's say, a narrower oval, so to speak. And now the petals are going up like this, and you don't even see the center of the flower. So just by changing this overall shape will help determine the perspective of the flower. And it also works on the back of the flower too. So if you were to do an oval here, and then you did the back of the flower, my pencil, and then your petals are coming down like this, depending on the type of flower you're trying to draw. But now you've got the back of the flower. So it's really, once you simplify that, and it can take some practice, really playing with where you're putting the center, and how you're drawing the oval. And again, what kind of flower are you drawing? So let's say you're drawing a daisy here. So you want to bring down these pieces. And then again, they would see how they just shorten in the back. And it really, really helps figuring out how to shape your flowers. I hope that little kind of simplification really helps you determine where to put your flowers or how to draw your flowers, sorry, because when it comes to drawing several flowers all in a composition, you want these different perspectives. You want to be able to convey, there's a bunch of flowers and they're all growing in opposite directions. And you can see this is very loose sketching right now, nothing super detailed. We're not putting any form in the leaves really, we're just indicating the direction they're growing in. Maybe they have, you know, some interesting edges. Maybe this one decides to curve up instead of down. And that's when you start, once you've got the form down and how to access the perspective in a way that's convincing, then you can start learning how to put some more details in. So here I was, again, let me just move this because it's hard to see. So this one, again, I was just practicing the forms, you know, and then I started putting some more details in. And then I got into different roses. And again, it's the same thing that applies to the more intricate rose. The same theory applies. A big circle, you start in the center, you work your way out. And in the oval, you start where you put your center where you want it. And then you start building up your layers of flowers. And you're constantly aware of that shape. So if I start putting more petals back here, I'm now changing that oval to round, and it's distorting the perspective. All right, let's do some doodling. Let's doodle. Let's draw something like this, because these are so pretty. Let me just make sure I'm in frame here, because this stand is a little bit irritating. There we go. Okay, so here are some. They're called Blush Calica. Okay, so it looks like a kind of like a wild rose type of rose to me. All right, so I'm going to, again, I'm not going to draw the oval because I don't want the oval in my sketch. And I'm gonna take from this. I'm not going to copy it exactly, but I'm going to take some details from this plant. So I am going to start with the center, and I'm going to put in my darkish center here. Just visually, it helps me determine where things are going to go. And again, these are quickie sketches. This is not something I'm taking hours to do. I just want to capture the form as best I can. So as you can see, I'm going up, down, and as I move around the plant, they go side to side, straight down and over. They never go just like this or just like this. I'm always thinking of the form. And then the little pieces on the tip here for all the pollinators. And again, just scribbling them in. I'm not drawing them individually. I'm implying that texture just by scribbling. So automatically you can see the lines here, and then these ones get distorted because I'm not copying this one exactly. I'm going to tip this flower away from me a little bit. But what I'm using is the details out of this flower because I don't know what a blush calico looks like. So I need a reference. My hand's dirty. I got to clean my hand. Sorry. Just going to use my eraser here. I've been rubbing on that tissue paper, so now it's left a mark on my paper here. And this paper that I'm using, by the way, where did I put it? It is, where did I put that paper pad? It's really quite nice paper. Where did I put it? I just had it. It is a smooth tooth. Okay, that's really strange, but not really for me because I'm always losing everything. Here, this is it here. Sorry. This is called a Bristol Smooth, and it's just something I picked up at the thrift shop. And it's very, very smooth paper. Okay, and it marks very easy. So it doesn't matter, it's just for fun, just a sketch. Okay, so now I'm going to put in my first petal. And it attaches to the center, grows out from the center, and has kind of these fun little curves here. I'm just feeling it out. So I'm keeping my pencil pretty light. And then maybe this one is going to go here. I can always change it. I think this one I will have go here, and this one here. So again, looking at the perspective, all of these are pretty even. So what I want to do is create the illusion that maybe this one's growing towards me a little bit. So I'm gonna give this one a little bit of a curve. And maybe this one curves under. This one can curve down. And then this one is just got some texture. This one's a little bit predictable, so let's change the shape of this one a little. I don't want my flower petals to be identical. Even though they're the same flower, I like them to have a little bit of visual interest per leaf, per petal, sorry. So now I've established my plant. I know my stem is going to come out here. So now I want to give the form to the leaves, so the petals, sorry. So I'm not going to just go straight back and forth or straight across. I want to give the indication that this petal is curving away from me by giving these little contour lines at the top. And then this one has a little bit of bend in it, so I was going to cast maybe a little shadow here. Another little bit of texture coming out. Maybe it's got a little kink in it here, so we'll put a little texture there. And then this guy is curving this way, so it's going to curve like this, and we'll put a little bit more of a shadow under this curved piece. Just a little, just to pop that lip of that plant towards us. Again, not tons of detail, just enough to intrigue us. Let us know what we're looking at. So this, I'm going to have this petal here curved down. Now this one's going to have a little bit of shadow here and a curve because I want this piece to look like it's growing down here. So I just put a little bit of shadow in here, a little bit of texture. Just for some interest, I'm going to darken up in between those leaves. Maybe put a little bit of shadow in between that leaf. And then I'm going to move to this petal, which I think will have it curved this way. And I'm rotating my wrist here. Normally I would turn the paper. Let's have that curve this way. So once you've grasped this type of sketching, nice and loose, you've got some detail without, perfection. You're never going to get perfection on my channel, but you're just achieving the look you're after. You've drawn what looks like a wild type of rose here. And then the next one you can shift. So let's change it again. Let's change it to where we don't see the center very much. So this might be the very top of my center. And now I'm going to put a petal here and then maybe a petal here. And then one in the back. That's a bit high, so I'm going to shorten that one a little bit. And you just got to feel it out. And that's the beauty of sketching, is you really just feeling out the sketch. And you keep your eraser handy and see if there's something you want to change. So this one I feel is a little bit too wide. I'm going to shorten it up a little bit and then just use my eraser and change it. So you see just a little bit of the center. You're going to see those little seeds. I'm just going to scribble those in. I might shorten this one too. I still feel like maybe they're a little bit tall. Okay, so now this petal is now growing towards me. It's curved out. This one is growing this way. This one is growing away from me and curving at the top. Same with this one. So this one I curved this way, this one I'm curving this way. And this one we will have right here. I'm going to put a little bit of curved shadow in there, like we did here. And again, I would move the paper just so my lines were a little bit easier on my wrist. You want it to feel and flow natural for your wrist, so move your paper around. Okay, and then you go right through the center here for your stem. And as they go further back, so we could do maybe something like this, where it's the rosebud is just starting to grow. So it goes up, and then it goes up again, and it's cracking open. So here's the green part. Inside is the rosebud, and then up comes another green part that's just starting to separate. So green, and it's got more of a wonky shape here. So it's all one piece. And then the rosebud inside. So values when you're drawing too will be important. So I'm darkening this up to imply that one, it's a different color, and two, it's kind of in shadow. It's encased here. And that will come again with practice. Pushing on when to push on your pencil, when to really darken something. And I even myself, after all these years of drawing, can go very dark very fast and kind of lose the interest in the contrast. But remember, you have an eraser, so if you overdo it, you just bring it back. Remember, this is just a nice, easy, relaxing sketch. And you want to learn to relax and get the confidence in order to keep sketching and improve your sketches. And like anything in life, it takes practice. You know, you will find that there's some things you really like to draw, and there's some things you really don't like to draw. I don't like drawing complicated roses. I never had. I like drawing peonies for some reason, but roses have never really been something I go to. But I do love roses, so I'm kind of forcing myself here to draw some. So these more wild roses I like to draw because they're not quite so complicated. But let's draw maybe a more complicated rose. I do have a video on that. So this video, what I'll do is I will simplify it a little bit. So there you go. There's some different roses, and as you can see, you can just build up a bouquet, and then you're going to put leaves in and all these little baby leaves growing and something interesting in every little sketch. So for the complicated rose, I call them complicated roses, but they're really just roses. What I do is I do a very loose approach. Where's that sketch? So in this book I was practicing. So here I was practicing all the different, I don't know, my coffee here. If I'm in, just practicing the different looks, different faces. And then I went to draw like a tea rose. And again, very quickly, just trying to capture the form. So this one's kind of facing down. And then I simplified it even more. So this, I didn't use a reference. I just kind of went with, hey, this is what roses look like in my head. So let's try that. So you're going to do the same thing. You're going to still work with an oval. So I just do a very light tracing just to help remind me, because it's easy to start building petals and then suddenly the shape gets completely distorted. You put more petals on the wrong one side and then it doesn't quite look like a rose anymore. And then just to do one quickly, it's not going to be soft like this. It's a little bit more harsh. I just kind of build up I just scribble in some shapes here, and then I start kind of building up these ovals, these wonky ovals, let's say. And as I build them out, they get bigger. None of them are the same. I don't want any of them to be the same, other than kind of shape, it's like similar shapes, but they should, if they look the same, then they're not going to, like, if they look identical, they're not going to look so natural. And then I will start remembering that oval shape, and then I'll start putting some that are facing me now. So these petals are all growing up towards the center of the flower, and these older ones are now dripping down to the bottom here. And I'll have a few peeking up the other side, and that's it. And then what I do is I start adding a little bit of shading in some of the crevices. None of the crevices make sense. Like, you can't actually see the ruffles of this, the detailed ruffles of this rose. But what I'm doing is just putting in an implication that these are individual petals, even though you can't really see them in detail. And this is a nice, really fun way to loosen up your sketching. And again, if you have a visual reference, that helps, but sometimes a visual reference can be overwhelming too. Like when you're looking at all those leaves and petals on a flower, you're like, where do I start? This is a nice little trick just to start in your head visualizing this flower on your own and then simplifying it. I hope this helps. I do hope this kind of gives you an idea of where to start. And I would highly recommend you use the ovals. Start with the oval shape. Draw the oval shape. It will really help you figure out how to build a flower. And again, once you've figured that out, honestly, you can draw any flower after that. So I want my center to be a little bit darker because there's less light penetrating in between those petals. I'm using a 0.5 millimeter HB lead pencil, in case you're curious. I usually say that at the beginning, but forgot. Okay, so the center gets a little bit darker because there's less light in there, and then out here, all these little petals will get light. And you see, what did that take? A couple of minutes, and now I have my rose. You start giving it a little bit detail here with the thorns. And again, if you feel like, okay, this one, I feel like the rose is leaning a little, throw in another leaf, throw in another petal. Sorry, I keep calling them leaves. Just have fun with it. Stay loose. Not everyone's going to be a winner. That's okay. You just recycle it. And then you'll slowly start to develop some confidence, first of all, and then really work on your skills and realize, hey, I just drew a flower, man. So really work on these ovals though. Just take your pencil and give yourself an oval and then say, okay, here's the center. Now how do I draw a flower? And then you can look at different kinds of flowers that you might want to draw. Maybe you don't like roses. Maybe you love peonies. Maybe you like daffodils. All the same thing is always going to apply to every flower. It's where the center of the flower is. And then just slowly start building up your shape from there. And I think it will really, really help you suddenly go, what? I just drew a flower. That's awesome. And then have fun putting them in your journal. I mean, even your sketches like this, you could fold up, fold them up and put them in your journal because they're part of the journey. They're part of the evolution of the journal, part of the evolution of your creative ways. Here is my favorite part about this book is how he did the leaves. The leaves are just so beautiful, and I have no patience whatsoever to paint a leaf like this. I wish I did, but I don't. And they're just so beautiful. And so if you want to draw a leaf, just remember that little edge texture. And again, this is very loose. And then of course it's got the strong veins, real trademark of the typical rose leaf. And those veins are all pretty much connecting. They're a little off, but they mostly connect to each other. And so you see, I'm not going straight across, I'm curving because this leaf is going this way and it's curving down like that. So that's important. And then another one here where you can't really see the stem that it's growing from. Again, a little texture. And curve them in. Same thing, curving to the center, very important. And then maybe we have one going this way, but we can't see it because it's bent in half. It's just starting to open, so it goes this way. And you just really have fun with leaves. They're just so pretty. I just love them. And then to color them in, again, you want to think of light source, but if you're just beginning, you can just give them a little bit of interest, maybe around the vein gets a little darker. I wasn't going to show the leaves today actually, but I'm having fun sketching. I just kind of scribble. Again, I would rotate the paper so it's a little bit easier on my wrist. Maybe darken up the outer edge here. Lighter in the center. And I'm coloring in the way the shape of the plant is growing. Those contour lines, very important. Because if I just went flat like this, you can see I'm really flattening out my leaf. And there's no reason you can't give it a base of shading. Something where you just, okay, I gotta color this in. And then give it details. But you see how flat it goes as opposed to coloring in a contour line. And I do each segment at a time. Just little details like that can upscale your drawing quite a bit. So very flat. A little bit more life. And you can really have, this is where you can, if you really want to learn how to do values, leaves is one of the best things to work on because there's so many layers. Like look at all the different values in these leaves. Really dark to very, very light. And you can try to mimic that with your pencil. Anyway, so there you go. I hope that helps. I hope that gave you some ideas. I hope it inspires you to give sketching flowers a try. And then, you know, once you've grasped it, start giving it more detail and then maybe put a couple of flowers together in a little bouquet. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for joining me today and have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye.